Welcome to the Get Fit Guys, quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. My name is Ben Greenfield. I'm the Get Fit Guy, and in today's episode, you're going to learn whether or not it really does make sense to quantify your exercise or whether it might actually be damaging for you. Well, unless you completely eschew technology or live under a rock in the middle of the woods, you're no doubt familiar with the trendy new obsession with self-quantification and quantified self-movement, the use of sleep trackers like the Bedit, fancy pedometers and calorie tracking devices like the Apple Watch, the Fitbit, and the Jawbone, and devices like the Lumo that even quantifies and adjusts your posture, or Spiro, which quantifies your breathing, and NatureBeat, which quantifies your cardiovascular and nervous system health. An entire floor of this year's Consumer Electronics Summit, the world's most popular event devoted to breakthrough new technologies, was devoted to just these type of wearables. And many people find themselves tied to and studying these type of devices 24/7 as a job. A perfect example is my recent Ben Greenfield Fitness.com podcast with the Rainmaker, the man who has single-handedly tested nearly every self-quantification device on the face of the planet. I'll link to that episode over at quickanddirtytips.com. Just look up the show notes to this episode number 282. Well, I've even been caught up myself with this craze, and I've been using a ring with a built-in computer. It's called an Aura to track and measure a host of parameters like sleep and heart rate variability, activity, body temperature, movement, respiration, and much more. But is this seeming obsession with self-quantification actually healthy? Should you quantify metrics such as exercise and sleep, or are there proven drawbacks? Well, in this episode, you're going to discover the latest research on this and get a few of my quick and dirty tips to make the right decision when it comes to quantification. Now, the Journal of Consumer Research recently reported in the article The Hidden Cost of Personal Quantification on the results of 6 different experiments that looked into devices that measure how much of different activities people do, walking, or even non-exercise activities like reading more. For example, in one experiment, researchers had 105 students color in shapes for a few minutes and then rate how much they enjoyed it. Those who got numerical feedback on their coloring, i.e., you have colored one shape, did indeed color more shapes, but reported that they enjoyed it less. In 2 other experiments, researchers gave 100 people pedometers, which are step measuring devices, to wear throughout the day. Well, just like the colorers, the people wearing the pedometers walked more than the people without the pedometers, but they also reported enjoying their physical activity less, even when they didn't have access to the device's feedback and metrics. So it seems the mere act of wearing a device during exercise could take some of the enjoyment out of it. And in another 2 experiments, 300 students reading for a brief period of time while having their reading metrics recorded did, as you'd probably guess, read more than a control group who wasn't having their reading measured, but the measured group enjoyed the reading less, especially when they could see how many pages they had processed. Well, the article in the Journal of Consumer Research hypothesizes that this phenomenon occurs because measuring an activity can undermine intrinsic motivation to complete the activity. By drawing attention to the output rather than the process, constant measurement and quantification can make enjoyable activities feel more like work, thus reducing their enjoyment. The consequence of this can be decreased continuous engagement in the activity and decreased subjective well-being. So in summary, measuring something like exercise may make you exercise more, but actually enjoy the exercise less. So what have I personally implemented myself based on these recent findings? Well, first, I track, but I don't obsess. Sure, I'm wearing this self-quantification ring nearly every day now, but I don't obsess over the results or run statistical evaluations on Excel on them daily. Instead, at the end of the day, I take a quick glance at just a few key metrics. Did I do a good job not sitting unbroken for any longer than an hour? Did I move my daily goal of 15,000 steps? Was my heart rate or body temperature higher than it usually is, indicating perhaps excessive stress or overtraining? And then I move on, always reminding myself that it's more important to spend your time experiencing life, not just analyzing life or staring at a screen that tells you how life is going. Number two, I'm careful with what I call electrical pollution. As I discuss in my podcast episode, Is Bluetooth Radiation Dangerous? And I'll link to that one over at quickanddirtytips.com. Just go to the show notes for this episode number 282. I'm wary not to put devices on my body that constantly emit a Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth signal, as I simply haven't seen enough research to show that this type of constant exposure is safe or healthy in the long term. And then I listen to my body. If a self-quantification device tells you that you exceeded your daily activity goals, you might be tempted, even if you're not hungry, to have, say, a slice of cheesecake after dinner. Or if your device tells you that you got 45 minutes less sleep than you normally do, you might be tempted to be tired or grumpy that day, even if you're really not that tired, but rather simply influenced by what the device is telling you. So I'm always careful to, every morning, simply take some quiet time to listen to my body and feel out what my energy levels really are. And I'm always careful when I get a big amount of daily activity to stop before stuffing my face as some kind of reward or refueling effort, and to eat mindfully, asking myself whether I'm actually hungry or whether I'm just having a knee-jerk reaction to technology. Well, for more on this topic from a nutritional angle, you should check out my fellow Quick and Dirty Tip podcaster, The Nutrition Diva's recent post, How Diet Trackers Sabotage Weight Loss. So, that's it. Don't worry about self-quantification ruining your life, but be careful with constant exposure to technology, obsessing too much, and forgetting to occasionally just unplug and listen to your body. And if you find things happening such as exercise becoming non-enjoyable or sleep becoming disrupted, try completely removing your device for a few days and see if that changes things. Well, what about you? Do you quantify your exercise? Do you have thoughts on self-quantification? We've always got great conversations going on over at facebook.com/getfitguy. And you can check that out at, you guessed it, facebook.com/getfitguy. And until next time, I'm the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.